The greatest journey ever, from Central Asia to the New World.
We're 200 kilometers inside the Arctic Circle, eastern Siberia, mid-November, little after 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The sun has already gone down. Temperature's about minus 40 Celsius, and it's dropping at a rate of about a degree every 10 minutes, so it's going to get very, very cold tonight. One of the things you don't really think about when you imagine cold on this scale is that all of the moisture, all of the liquid is tied up in this, snow and ice. It's as though liquid water did not exist, almost like a parallel universe. And that's what life was like about 40,000 years ago as we were going into the depths of the last ice age.
And by 20,000 years ago, the world had hit rock bottom, as cold as it could get. Yet the Chukchi's ancestors survived.
This is a Yaranga.
An important lesson in Chukchi survival: eat and drink all the time. I'm starving. So what's on the menu?
This is reindeer. Excellent.
Do you want?
I would love some, yeah.
The Chukchi diet is almost entirely based on reindeer. They use every part of the animal for sustenance. At these temperatures, nothing gets wasted. I've never eaten reindeer meat. It tastes really good, a bit like beef, but richer and higher in protein.
Yeah, don't eat from knife because it's cold and your tongue can...
Stick to the
Yeah.
knife. Okay, so you eat with your fingers. Important to learn these things.
After supper, I'm off to bed.
We're inside the local Chukchi dwelling, known as a Yaranga, made out of reindeer skin and wooden poles. It's freezing in here. Ice covering the inside. It's about minus 30 Celsius outside. Can't be that much warmer in here. And this is where I'm sleeping for the night, inside one of these, which is sort of a tent within a tent, again made out of reindeer skin, wooden poles.
I can see that Elvis's decorator has been here.
Fantastic. It's like a reindeer in here. Dave told me you just sleep in here, no sleeping bag, no blankets, just the candles and body heat to keep you warm. So, time for bed.
Believe it or not, as temperatures plummeted to 60 below outside, the Yaranga's inner sanctum kept me warm as toast.
It's so cold out here. No gloves.
Despite thousands of years of adaptation, the climate is so harsh that few Chukchi stay here to endure it.
How many people live in your group?
В нашем стойбище сейчас зимой 9 человек.
9 people in the... So the size of the group is quite small.
Во всем предприятии в оленевских бригадах у нас 6 бригад всего. И в бригадах вот такие вот по столько человек.
So in Amgoyama Tundra, there are only 6 brigades like here.
And is that because life is so difficult here?
Да.
Yes, you're right.
Now why are you repairing this now? It's like a sled of some sort. You're moving. How often do you have to move?
Они всегда двигаются.
Always. And it's always dictated by what the reindeer need.
Да.
Yes, you're right.
The Chukchi's ancestors had followed the reindeer eastwards. After thousands of years, they ended up here, at the eastern tip of Russia. But they couldn't go any further and were forced to make this inhospitable corner of the world their home.
The ebb and flow of Chukchi life is determined entirely by the reindeer that they herd. The things they eat, the clothes they wear, even the dwellings they live in, they all come from the reindeer. And this time of year, life is getting pretty difficult, so the herd needs to move on so that it can scrape subsistence out of the snow-covered ground here. What we're seeing right now is the village packing up to move on after the herd. herding the reindeer together and pulling a few of them off so that they can drag the sledges with the tents.
Victor and his family are moving off, following their reindeer to new pastures, living proof that humans can adapt and survive in these extremes, and a lesson in just how little we really need to get by. But there's more. My genetic trail tells me that around 15,000 years ago, a tiny group of these Chukchi's ancestors survived to make an impossible leap into the New World. A journey which began with Niazov's family in Central Asia, then moved east along the length of Russia, left the ancestors of these incredibly tough Chukchi poised to conquer a new continent. But there was a seemingly impassable barrier to their route. The frozen reaches of the Bering Sea separate Russia from the Americas.
We're here at the Bering Strait, and it is unbelievably cold here. Clogged with ice for about 6 months of the year. Not even an icebreaker can get through. And yet we know that the ancestors of the Native Americans made it through here about 15,000 years ago at the height of the last ice age. How could they have made a trip like that?
I followed the trail of the first humans from Africa to the eastern tip of Russia. I've met their descendants, the Chukchi. But blocked from reaching America by the Bering Sea, I can go no further. Yet I know the blood of these Arctic herdsmen connects them to Native Americans. How did they get there? In an ironic twist, the ice age that drove us out of Africa now provided the Chukchi's ancestors with an escape route. As temperatures fell and sea levels dropped, a new landmass called Beringia was exposed from beneath the Bering Sea. This new land connected the Russian Far East to Alaska. The reindeer headed for new pastures. The few survivors followed them, taking mankind into uncharted territory, into the New World.
The sea level was very much lower. About, you could build a 40-story building, to tell you how much the sea level had changed. But they couldn't go very far. They were sort of stuck in northern Alaska because of all the ice.
And behind them, things weren't much better. As the Ice Age came to an end, sea levels rose again, marooning the first Americans on a tiny pocket of land.